Welcome to Deleted Saves. On this episode, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver, on PlayStation 1. Video game vampires are, in a strange way, like cinematic gangsters. Just when you think you've gotten out, they pull you right back in. I have previously spoken about the beginnings of the Legacy of Kain series, about the rise and, well, not fall, but more akin to unhealthy lingering of the vampire Kain. Today we will review its sequel, 1999's Soul Reaver. The timeline of Soul Reaver can be a bit wonky for new players. The game takes place centuries after the events of Blood Omen and switches main characters from Kain to his servant/vampiric child Raziel. Kain has become a dark god in the wake of his debut game and has driven the land of Nosgoth into complete collapse. During his long years of unlife, he raised a host of vampiric children to be both warriors and to help him propagate his species, reducing humanity to very small handfuls of survivors in fortified villages, and blotting out the sun through a combination of sorcery and technology. As time would go on, Kain would physically evolve a new skill or ability, and soon after his children would do the same, until one day, when Raziel evolved before Kain did, developing a set of wings. In jealous fury, Kain tore the wings from Raziel's body and tossed him into a swirling vortex that would dissolve him over centuries. In time, and before he was completely obliterated, Raziel is saved by an eldritch nightmare of eyes and tentacles that calls itself the Elder God, to become its undead weapon, a Soul Reaver. Raziel, now physically ruined and little more than a withered corpse with the tattered remains of his wings, is set forth to seek revenge on Kain. Instead of blood, Raziel now devours souls, so he can eat ghosts and vampire souls with equal skill. With almost no humans left, and therefore blood being in short supply, this is quite a useful skill to have. He is also bound to a lightsaber that he cannot be disarmed from, which is also called the Soul Reaver. Raziel finds his way back from spectral oblivion to the physical world, now able to pass between the two states of existence, and finds much time has passed. The vampires he meets and fights are far different from what he remembers. It would seem his vampire brothers have begun to evolve out of control into new forms of monstrosity, and their progeny along with them. Kain is absent, but has left his inquiries into both Nosgoth's history and potential future written across the landscape in blood and destruction. Raziel takes out his anger on his brethren, who each has a piece of the puzzle to Kain's location, until Raziel meets his undead father at the ruins of the Pillars of Nosgoth, where Kain begins to reveal the reason for everything he has done, hinting that all his evils have been calculated and planned, seeking to both alter the past and future of the land, and then jumps into a time portal where the game ends. Soul Reaver is actually the direct sequel to Blood Omen. Blood Omen 2 was not released until 2002, but is technically the third game in the series timeline. It switches from the top-down action RPG style to a fully 3D environment, which was needed to solve the many puzzles Raziel would encounter along the way as he traversed the land. That 3D was also necessary because Raziel still uses his destroyed wings in order to float, glide across gaps, and descend gently from cliffs. This change removes the RPG-like elements, replacing them with simply giving Raziel new tools and abilities that he needs to explore gated-off areas once he kills the bosses of the game. The writing remains excellent throughout, brought to life by the amazing voice acting skills of the cast. Speaking of story, Soul Reaver is still a tale of revenge, much like Blood Omen. Raziel rages against his otherworldly captivity and slavery, like Kain once did. While Kain was most definitely an anti-hero, Raziel might have been one as well. But in this world, there is very little he interacts with that is not more supernatural and vile than he already is, making him more of a reclaimed hero, a dark savior who might in fact be able to save what is left of Nosgoth. Fitting, as Raziel was a paladin, a warrior of light who fought against the vampire hordes centuries earlier on the behalf of humanity. It is obvious that Soul Reaver outdoes its predecessor Blood Omen in every way, but that is where the trend comes to an end. The conclusion of the game leaves us, the players, with as many questions as we have answers. The development team had plans for a much larger branching series that would ultimately end in 5 total games set around the deadly dance of Kain and Raziel. Soul Reaver helps elevate the concept of the vampire as a work of dark fantasy, blending action, medieval anachronism mixed with nearly steampunk technology, mysticism, and even elements of eldritch horror in a world that, for once, is not modern-day Earth, even if the world is Earth-adjacent fantasy. A common theme in fantasy, as humans tend to write what they know. As a standalone work, it should be in the collection of any vampire fan gamer, or those who love a great story told well. As a set, perhaps Blood Omen and Soul Reaver should have been left as they were, incomplete stories that complemented each other. As Kain himself discovered, unnaturally long life leads to rot, much like an endlessly told tale. Raziel was meant to be both foe and editor in that way. Yet the story of these two godlike vampires continued, but that is a tale for a much later time. Thank you for listening.